Cruise news time, and I like it when the news is good. We got a cruise port that's getting all kinds of love. We got a cruise line that's having its best quarter ever. And, okay, well, it's not all good. There's also a cruise captain, an infamous cruise captain that would like to get out of prison. And I think there's people that don't want him to get out of prison. Yeah, cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loca. I am your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face. For your face on a Tuesday, the 28th of January, 2025. And look, a big announcement. So many people enjoyed the dancing from yesterday. I just want to show you guys that it's short pants weather again in Florida. Short pants weather. Short pants weather. It has been so cold here in Florida, but finally today it makes sense to wear the short pants. Oh, I'm so excited. If it's still freezing where you're at, I'm very sorry, but I live in Florida. It's supposed to be dang hot, and it's not been dang hot. Cruise news story number one: Port Canaveral was a ship spotter's dream. Ship spotter's dream on the 25th of January. There were 6 cruise ships leaving port that day. And you know what that is? It's a new record. It's a new record. Which cruise ships, you may be curious to know? Well, I don't know them. I don't have all of this committed to memory. Let me check my resources. It's Carnival Mardi Gras, Carnival Vista, Disney Treasure, Norwegian Epic, Voyager of the Seas from Royal Caribbean, and the Celebrity Equinox. Yeah, that's amazing. If you've ever been over to Port Canaveral, there's a great place there called Jetty Park. It costs about $15 to get full access into Jetty Park, but you can go all the way to the end of the jetty and you can watch these massive cruise ships sail out of there. It's one of my favorite things to do when I've got an afternoon to kill, especially if I'm with people that have never seen a cruise ship up close. It's so fun to go over to Jetty Park and watch those ships. I mean, it's not as fun as being on the ship. Let's be real about that. But it is a fun thing to do. And yeah, look, Port Canaveral is the belle of the ball right now. It's in constant battle between that and the Port of Miami for being the world's most popular cruise port. And I think Miami may still have it. But, you know, look, that's not the only good news I have about Port Canaveral today. MSC Cruise Line is making a firm commitment to Port Canaveral all the way into the year of 2028. Word is out from MSC that their plans are to home port one of their largest cruise ships in Port Canaveral, the MSC Grandiosa. Commitment there for the 2027-2028 season. There is an official statement from Lynn Torrent, the Executive Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer, saying our commitment to Port Canaveral stronger than ever, thanks to the incredible support from our partners there and the growing demand. That's us. The growing demand from guests who love the port's convenient location. Yeah, so 6 cruise ships in one day, MSC committing to staying through 2028. This is a challenge. I was talking to another content creator. There's a podcast coming out in a few days where this conversation happens, but I'll give you a little bit of a preview into it. Port Canaveral, like Port of Galveston, is one of those places where, because of cruising demand, the cruising out of those locations continue to expand. Cruise companies more excited to go to Galveston, more excited to go to Port Canaveral. And the challenge with the cruise port, spots, just like every other part of places that are expanding, is that oftentimes the infrastructure lags behind the progress or the demand of the thing that needs the infrastructure. So I feel like we're going to have some growing pains in Port Canaveral as this wonderful demand that's hitting Port Canaveral for cruise ships continues to increase. You're going to have some scenarios where they're going to have to expand the infrastructure there to make it more, reasonable for people to get in there. It's one of my favorite places to go, but 6 cruise ships in one day, that's a lot of traffic. That's a lot of strain on those road systems there. But from what I can tell from the leadership at the port there at Port Canaveral, I don't think anybody's shying away from trying to make a better experience, trying to bring more cruise companies to Port Canaveral, and then therefore making, the infrastructure better. So it's going to be interesting to track what happens in Port Canaveral over the next few years. If they tackle that expansion well, then it's really going to be a really big spot, an already big spot, but an even bigger spot for cruising there on the east coast of Florida. Cruise news story number 3. We have a cruise line cawing that they're having their best quarter ever, talking about Virgin Voyages. Virgin Voyages, are they still new enough that we can call them an upstart? I mean, there's less than 10 cruise ships in their fleet, but they continue to add more cruise ships. Word coming out from on high over there that their revenue is up 60% in Q1, and they've almost got all of Q1 completely booked out. And, look, for a fledgling cruise company like Virgin, those kind of indicators are huge. Can we fill up our cruise ship for an extended period of time? You got the juggernaut over there like Royal Caribbean, like, we booked everything. We booked it all for 2025, and 2026 is getting, it's a different story, obviously, if you look at these established long-running cruise companies filling up ship after ship for month after month. Obviously, Virgin is starting to carve out its own spot in the market, and there's definitely people that are becoming more and more loyal to Virgin. It's a good experience. Again, it's not for everybody, but what cruise line is, and it's really neat to see more people gravitate to the thing that they like at Virgin Voyages as people gravitate to other cruise lines. And I'm excited. Again, more cruise offerings for more different cruising personalities. You're going to different places around the world. As someone who loves cruising, I think this is a fantastic story. Congratulations. Like a virgin, selling out Q1 for the very first time. I know it's a stretch, so shout out Ludacris. Cruise news story number 4. There is a new cruise line going over to Cuba. And of course, if you know anything about law, it's not an American-based cruise line. It's a British-based cruise line, Ambassador. The shot that we're looking at here is the Ambassador cruise ship, the Ambition. And it comes at a time where there's some questions about cruise tourism and tourism in general there in Havana. Many are reporting empty streets and closed businesses there in Havana amidst a really big tourism downturn after Havana has invested millions in their tourism. There was another ship that kicked off the season from Hapag-Lloyd that brought about 500 people to Havana. So there's a hope that this Hapag-Lloyd ship and now Ambassador being in Havana, that it will kind of turn the tide for tourism in Havana. Of course, U.S. citizens are not allowed to go to Cuba for tourism. There was a brief window back in 2018 where we could. I got to do that. That was one of my very special cruise memories. But Havana was bleak. There were a lot of people sitting in darkened doorways. You could tell that people were struggling to get by, and then that the government had such a heavy hand there. It's always the debate, especially from people that were from Cuba that now live in the United States, whether it's a good or bad thing, tourism in Havana. I don't know, but it's certainly being there, you really kind of got the sense of how oppressive that regime was and the communism there. And it really made you grateful to be from a country like the United States, where even though sometimes things are not great, it's not that. It's not that. I think that's really what travel does for you. It really helps you put things into perspective. But wow. Yeah. So if you're over in the UK, that was a long way to get there. If you're over in the UK, you can now go to Cuba on Ambassador, pretty well established cruise line. How about that? Cruise news story number 5. I had to do a double take on this one. Man, I mentioned Royal Caribbean sitting over there juggernauting the thing. Look at us. We got the world's largest cruise ship. Our demand is out the roof. Is there any other cruising markets we can conquer? How about the river cruise market? Do we have a brand that would work well for river cruising? Well, yes, we do. They've announced that they have a run book, a new build plan for 10 river cruise ships under the Celebrity moniker, the Celebrity brand. Royal Caribbean Group's premium brand. You've got right there in the family, Royal Caribbean International, then Celebrity, and then you got the kind of even more premium. And they're going to build 10 river cruise ships. Not a ton of detail out there right now other than the number is 10 and that they will begin sailing some of these river cruise ships in 2027. It's a recognition on their part that cruisers who cruise on Celebrity, they like that sophisticated type cruising, which is also aligns with the profile of people that like to do the river cruising. Those are generalizations, not hard and fast rules. But it looks like now people that are loyal to Royal, loyal to Celebrity, they'll be able to cruise in a whole different way on rivers. Rivers over in Europe primarily, I would think. I don't know if they're throwing anything on the U.S. rivers, but we'll have to watch the plans. What do you think about that? Do you think this is what I wonder? I wonder, river cruises are much more expensive. It's a completely different way of traveling. When you go on a river cruise, your primary function is not the vessel that you're on. Your primary function is to go see the cities, to excurse, to really get out and adventure, which is different. I mean, there's an element of that when it comes to ocean cruising, but for many people, the ship is the destination also in the ocean cruise space. So what do you think? Do you think this will be enticing to people that are cruising on Celebrity to go and try river cruising? I'm assuming that's what they're banking for. Or do you think they're just going to try to, cut into the already existing river cruise market if they're looking at, players like Viking River and looking at players like Ama Waterway and whoever else those players are over there? Do you think they're going, well, we could get us some of that pie also? Kudos to them, man. Their stock is at their highest price ever. The leadership team is over there fully kicking with the financials. They're getting higher prices for their cruises than ever. And the satisfaction's high. So a lot of positive indicative markers over there at Royal Caribbean Group. And it looks like they're trying to parlay that into some more business in the form of river cruising. I don't know. I really do want to go on a river cruise. I was very resistive to it. That'd be cool if the loyalty carries over. I think this is a big deal if you really want to talk about brand loyalty. If you can carry it over to these different products, like does MSC's regular loyalty carry over to Explorer Journeys, that kind of thing? Does Viking River and Viking Ocean, do they even have a loyalty program? I don't know. But yeah, interesting stuff. Okay, now I got to tell you about this cruise captain that's doing time for a crime that would like to get out of prison. But before I do that, let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Look, it's Tuesday, and normally we have a live show, but we've got a big week of things coming up. Stuff that I can't really talk about yet, but I'll be able to talk about in a few days. So we're going to be out of pocket tonight. No live show tonight. Probably no Jenny B video tomorrow. This week caught up on us quick. So none of that tonight. That's the programming note. All right, let's talk about what really was one of the worst maritime disasters or cruising maritime disasters in the modern era. This happened back in January of 2012, 13 years ago. Wow. The Costa Concordia, fairly new cruise ship, was doing a normal cruise around the coast of Italy when the captain on board, Francisco Centino, decided that he wanted to do a salute. That's what they call it. That is, veer off the predetermined course, go close to the island, blow the horn. I don't know who he was blowing the horn at, but what happened is he did that. He went off of the predetermined course. He went close to the coast and he hit a rock embankment, ripping the hole open on the Costa Concordia, and it immediately filled up with water, screwed up all of the electrical system. Navigation went to zero almost immediately as the thing filled with water. It listed to its side. The passengers and crew on board had to abandon ship. And unfortunately, 32 people died in the incident, 27 passengers and 5 crew members. Now, the captain was brought up on charges for a myriad of things, and he was sentenced to 16 years in prison in Italy. One of the things that came out in the trial was that him and some of the officers, instead of going down with the ship, being the last people on the ship, were some of the first people off the ship. Now, he said that he fell off the ship when it listed, or that he had to get off the ship to manage the evacuation. But regardless, all of that talk about the captain going down with the ship did not occur in this case. Like I said, he was found guilty of the charges against him, and he's serving 16 years in an Italian prison. There's a thing in the Italian justice system called semi-liberty, that after you've served, I believe, half of your sentence, you can now raise your hand and say, hey, look, I've been a good prisoner. Can I please get out for release? And that's what he's trying to do. So he's saying, hey, he's filed the paperwork. He would like to get out for release. There's a hearing in early March to determine whether or not he will be released early. But, very specifically, they're the families of the people who died in there that are saying, no, 16 years probably wasn't enough. We don't want this guy getting out of prison. And the voices are getting louder and louder when it comes to this. Concordia, one of those things why we probably have the current muster system that we do on cruise ships, because of that disaster. And of course, you can go all the way back to Titanic and follow the trajectory of different safety protocols, but Concordia reshaped the whole thing again. And this captain's poor decision to do whatever he did reshaped the safety of cruise ships as we know it today. 16 years almost doesn't seem like enough time. If you were really found negligent of what you've been charged with, 16 years seems like a light sentence anyways. How old's the guy? I guess he's 64. I guess he's 64 in prison saying, look, I made a mistake and I've served half my time. I'm 64. Can I get out of prison? But I don't think I would find any comfort in that at all if I was somebody who lost a family member because of this guy's decision. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. What do you think? Should we let the captain out of prison, or should he serve his whole 16 years? And even is 16 years enough? It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Boom! That is your cruise news. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. I dare you to leave a comment below. Hit that like button on your way out. And unfortunately, if you can't find it in your heart to hit the like button on the way out, I'll be forced to punish you. And while your punishment is this one's kind of gross. The next time you go on a cruise, your in-cabin toilet won't flush. Dun, dun, dun. I'm not saying it's a dirty toilet, but anyways, you can avoid all that. Hit the like button. It's 20 for La Lido Loca. Until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.
Cruise news, cruise news, cruise news, it's over.